when a Melacha was done in the Mishkan, or for the Mishkan, or to assemble the Mishkan, it was done in a very straightforward, clearly defined way. This idea of a straightforward, clearly defined, constructive, purposeful way is referred to in Hebrew as Melechet Machshevet, or Melechet Machshevet. That expression is very difficult to translate because it's going to have many categories, but that is the key term you're going to have to become familiar with when it comes to dealing with the laws of Shabbat. Melechet Machshevet. Melechet Machshevet doesn't just mean the Melacha was done with your mind. It means that as well. It means it was done in a very purposeful, exact, and clear way. A very purposeful, exact, and a clear way. Let's look at some examples of this, and then we'll go deeper into it. But let's just look at some general ideas so it becomes very clear to you. This will become very clear. How do you put a seed in the ground? Pick it up, put it in, dig a hole, put the seed into the ground. Let's say we were to find a scenario where you're not putting it directly into the ground. For example, you were to throw it up and then the wind would come and blow it and it would land into the ground.
What was your intention to put it there?
Was my intention to put it there? Okay, that's a fair point. Let's even say it was my intention, but I wasn't putting it in the ground. How do they put the seeds in the ground in the time of the Mishkan? They put it into the ground. That's the normal way you do stuff. But what I've done is, I've allowed a secondary force come in, called the wind in this situation, and to allow that seed to fly into the ground. I didn't put it in the ground, the wind did. It's still forbidden, but we'll leave that aside. That's something called grama. There's been a secondary causative action that has made it happen. In this situation, it's still going to be forbidden. But what you did was, you removed it from the category of Melechet Machshevet. Melechet Machshevet means the way it was done in the Mishkan, and that is always going to be the normal, correct way that things are done. Okay. Why is information important? Because when you need to break Shabbat, because we're going to learn how to break Shabbat, you want to minimize the act as much as possible, meaning you want to make it as non-Torah-like as possible. As non-Torah-like as possible. I'm going to give you a very clear example, which makes it very, very clear to you. But you want to make it as far away as possible from Melechet Machshevet. That's what you want to do. Because Melechet Machshevet means the way it was done in the Mishkan, and that's purposeful, and it's clear, and it's direct. I have managed to find an indirect way of doing it. Happens to me in this situation, I can't do it. But if I need to do it, I want to do it as far away as possible as Melechet Machshevet. Let me give you another clearer example, and we'll bring it to a modern day scenario. Are you allowed to write on Shabbat? No. Where was there writing in the Mishkan? Anyone know? It's a difficult question, this. Where was there writing in the Mishkan? Who wrote what and where? Yes? That happened maybe, but no, that didn't happen in terms of the construction of the Mishkan. Nice idea, though. So they used to have karashim, planks they would actually build the Mishkan from. There were wooden planks inside they would build. And in order to know which plank went where, right, that's like the sukkah boards, where they used to use like wooden boards to make sukkahs, right? They used to write letters on them in order to know Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dad, and they would write it around. How does a person usually write? With a pen, with the prominent hand, nicely put. So a right-handed person writes with their right hand. A left-handed person writes with their left hand. Therefore, we're going to see when we get to that Melacha, which God willing we will, you cannot write on Shabbos. how much you're writing, for what purpose, 1 letter, 2 letters we're going to come to. But the general idea is you cannot write. So the Melechet Machshevet way, which means the real, purposeful, constructive way it was done in the Mishkan, which I cannot do very clearly, is to write with my right hand. But let's say I write with my left hand. I write with my left hand. Is that Melechet Machshevet? No, it's not. It's not, because I'm a righty and I never write with my left. The weird thing is, if I write with my left hand, it's still forbidden. Make no mistake. But by writing with my left hand, I've done something that was called, as we're going to see, a shinui. All these terms we're going to look at by themselves and deliberately, so don't panic right now. But just so you have the general picture, I want to give you a general picture, and then we're going to laser in on these individual pieces one by one and make a nice map. But I'm doing a shinui. Shinui means a different way that it was done in the Mishkan. Why is that important? It's still forbidden, righty-lefty. Well, if there is a scenario where I need to write something, I'm a doctor, and I need to write a prescription, because this person needs it right now. If I can do it as effectively with my left as my right hand, and I'm usually a righty, I might as well use my left hand. If I'm not going to lengthen the person's suffering, or whatever the situation may be, I'll just do it with a shinoi. It's still forbidden for the rest of us, but in a situation where you have to do it, that's the better way to do it. Why? Because I've removed myself from Melechet Machshevet. Let me give you an up-to-date example, which most medical professionals will rely upon. I have a friend of mine who is an anesthesiologist. He is my chavruta, my learning partner. He's also a bigger Talmud Chacham than me, but we'll leave that aside. He teaches me a lot. So, if he needs to call the hospital for a reason on Shabbat, which he needs to do, for a patient or something, how does he normally do that? Takes out his phone, or he picks up a phone, as they used to do, and he will dial. How does he dial? With his hand. Be more specific. With his finger, or maybe his thumbs in 2016, right? He will just do, 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 or boop, 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 boop. Okay, ready for this? When he has to call the hospital, he will actually use his knuckles. That's called a shinoi. Why is he doing that? He's allowed to call the hospital. Okay. Is it a major emergency? It's not. It doesn't take any longer for him to use his knuckles as opposed to his hand. So what he's doing, he's throwing in a shinoi, one of these exceptions to Melacha, because that's really what they're going to be, as we're going to see, and he's removed himself from the world of Melechet Machshevet. That is what he has done. He's removed himself at least 1 degree away from the arena, because the normal way we write, or in today's day and age use the phone, is to follow a certain pattern. He's going to do it in a way that he doesn't normally do it. He's just taking the edge off the Melacha by removing it from Melechet Machshevet. Are we following a little bit? Should we do another example? There's plenty more. We did the writing, we did the phone thing, we did the grammar. So I'm going to remove myself from it. Okay? Most situations, even by removing myself from Melechet Machshevet, it's going to be forbidden, but there'll be scenarios where it could be permitted. Okay? Very good. Turn over the page. Let's go deeper into it, and we'll see more examples as we go. Okay. So, let's try to do this again. What you see on the top of page 4 is a map of Melechet Machshevet. We're going to go through each one of these individually before we begin the Melachot. This is going to be the framework for understanding any Melacha in order to learn as to whether it is a Melacha, and if it is, can I get myself out of it being a Melechet Machshevet? So once again, this is the Torah definition of a Melacha. If I get out of this, I move myself into non-doraisa, non-Torah level prohibitions. And in a perfect scenario, I'm even possibly able to myself completely where the action becomes permissible. In most cases, that won't be the situation, but in many cases it will. Let's look at some examples so we see it. So the first group we will look at is, in order to be Melechet Machshevet, it needs Machshava. Machshava means thought. That means when you do it, the act itself is important. But you know what's important as well when you do a certain act? What's important is what's your intention. What are you thinking when you do the act? So two people could be doing exactly the same act. One of them is doing a Melacha Doraisa, and one of them could well be performing a Melacha Derabanan. Derabanan is less severe than a Doraisa. Both are forbidden. But you still can't compare Torah to Rabbinic. You want to get out of the Rabbinic prohibition as much as possible. So let me give you an example of a Melechet Machshevet that has a thought process that isn't going to be a Melechet Machshevet. And this, as you can see in your books, note 1, is a Melacha. Sheino. Tzricha. La Gufa. A Melacha Sheina Tzricha La Gufa. What exactly do those words mean? Well, literally they mean a Melacha that is performed where I don't actually need the Gufa, which means the body of the act itself. Let me explain, because you all look totally bewildered. Do not panic. We're going to work this through slowly. There's no rush over here. I'll spend all semester just working on these ideas. A Melacha She'ena Tzricha L'Gufa means I'm going to do an act. I'm going to do an act. But the purpose is other than that for which it was performed in the Mishkan. Let me give an example. Are you allowed, listen carefully, this is important. Are you allowed to dig a hole on Shabbat, in the earth? I'm going to take a shovel, go up to the earth, and dig a hole in the earth. I'm going to have to do that on Shabbat. No, you are not. Okay. Why? Different opinions, but most likely that's a problem of building bona. You're building a pit or you're building a hole. Okay. So what's the purpose of me digging a hole? I want the hole. Right? Why would you dig a hole? Because I want the hole. That's the original purpose of the Melacha. Let's say I was digging a hole, but I wasn't digging it for the hole. I was digging it for the dirt that's coming out of the hole. Right? Act is the same, but my purpose is other than that for which it was performed in the Mishkan. With me? I'm digging a hole. Can you see me? I'm digging my hole. What's my intention when I dig the hole? I need some dirt because I need to, I don't know, cover up some mess that's somewhere in my house. So by digging the hole, I'm actually performing a Melacha. But my kavanah, my intention, isn't for the hole, it's for the dirt. So what's happened is, this is a Melacha, She'ena Tzricha L'Gufa. I don't need the result of the Melacha. That's not what I was digging my hole for. I was digging the hole for one purpose, to get the dirt out. Happens to be that I ended up with a hole in the ground, which happens to be a Melacha Doraisa of bona, of building. It's still forbidden to do. But what has happened over here is something very, very interesting that's going to come in very handy for us. And that is, I've removed myself from Melechet Machshevet because the way it was done in the Mishkan was doing something for a very intentional and direct, purposeful purpose, which was digging a hole because I want a hole. I'm digging a hole because I want the dirt. And by doing so, I've removed myself from Melechet Machshevet. Because my thought process, my machshava, so this leads to this. Right? But once I do it this way, I've removed my machshava, my thought, meaning my intention. Maybe the machshava is better translated as what's my intention? Intention matters. Intention matters. Those are the blankest faces I've ever seen in my life. Are we getting this? If you got it already, you don't get it. It's going to take time to absorb this one. Shani, you with me?
No.
You're not with me. I'm so pleased you told me that. I'm so pleased with your honesty. I'm going to do it again. Okay?
I don't understand how, when you're doing stuff, let's just say you want the hole, but then you take the dirt. So why did you, like, so what's your machshava?
It's like a Sudoku puzzle. You want it this way? Put it that way? Yeah. What we're saying is, let's start again, make it clear. How were things done in the Mishkan? The things done in the Mishkan were melachot that were performed in the Mishkan in a very purposeful, direct, and clear, defined way, with a very specific intention. So, for example, they dug holes. For whatever, for planting things, putting things away, for putting stakes into the ground, whatever it was for. Why do you dig a hole? In order to make use of the hole. We have a Melacha. What's the Melacha? Bona, building holes. You can't do on Shabbat. So I'm going to say to you, wait a minute. So you're telling me that in order to be a Melacha, in order to be a problem, I have to do it, not only the act the way it was done, but Melechet Machshevet need machshava. It needs the intention that they had as well. So in us, we're saying it's not just the act, not just the maaseh, but also the kavanah, the intention that went with it. If I were to do exactly the same act, but with a different intention, then I'm not doing Melechet Machshevet. Because Melechet Machshevet was done in a very specific way. Well, like what? Well, let's say I do exactly the same act, dig a hole, but I don't want the hole. The hole doesn't interest me. Loch Batli, I don't need it. They needed it. Remember that? Because they were digging holes, they needed holes. But I don't need a hole. I'm going to dig a hole because I want the dirt. So I've done a Melacha, Sheina Tzricha legufa. I don't need the goof for the body of what the act itself. I don't need the body. What was the act itself making a hole? I don't need the hole. Loch Batli the hole. Holes happen to occur when you dig for dirt. But that's not my kavanah. So exactly the same act, done exactly the same way, for a different intention, has removed me from Melechet Machshevet. It's removed me from it. It's still forbidden. It's still forbidden. But you know what? Shani, we're going to find situation scenarios where maybe doing it Melacha Sheina Legufa and maybe adding another purpose or a reason, suddenly it will become permitted. Yecholiyot. We're going to maybe use it because I've moved myself away from here. So since, listen carefully, I know our brains are limited when it comes to thinking too long today. But in order to be Melechet Machshevet, one thing it needed was machshava, thought, intention. If I remove this, how? How am I going to remove intention? I'll do Melacha Sheina Tzricha legufa. That means I have a different intention than the original intention was done in the Mishkan. You know when that happens? You've removed yourself from the Torah obligation, and maybe it becomes rabbinic. Some say actually it's still Doraisa, the Rambam, but we'll leave him aside for a second. Others say it's rabbinic and only rabbinically forbidden to do that act. It's still forbidden. But maybe if I need to do it, maybe better to do it for this and not that reason. Yes?
So it's just like a shinui, like you're just if you have to do this action, you're like looking for it.
A shinoi is another example, which we're going to look at in a few
No, I'm
moments.
saying so it's like a shinui, so you're just like looking for it if you need to do this action as a way
See, a
to
shinoi
make
is different. A
it better.
shinoi is I'm doing it a different way. Okay? A different way. Maybe using my foot, for example, to dig a hole. This is exactly the same act that was done, but with a different machshava. Says the Torah, you've actually, according to Torah law, not broken Shabbat. Because in order to break Shabbat, it has to be done exactly the same way, with the same intention that it was done in the Mishkan. You following? So by digging a hole just for the dirt, according to many opinions, you're not transgressing your Torah law. Because a Torah law, in order to be forbidden, needs to be a Melacha with machshava.
But it's not patur.
No. Still asur. Asur for sure. Yes.
So if you change your machshava, then you're no longer Melechet Machshevet?
Yes. If the machshava, if the intention, that just means I thought, if the intention is different, it is, according to most opinions, no longer in Melacha Doraisa. It's still totally forbidden. The Rambam says it is, so we're careful for the Rambam. And this is pretty strict. But as we go through the list of other things that remove us from Melechet Machshevet, we can actually end up in a situation where it becomes rabbinic, and then we're going to see, you're going to end up in a situation where it becomes completely permitted.
So
I'm doing an act which is very, very similar to the act that was done in the Mishkan, but since I'm going to add a number of these in, it could be that it even becomes permitted, and we'll see examples of that. Are we all good so far? You don't understand? I'm happy to say it again and drive you completely crazy, because that's what they pay me for. Yeah.
So you're not breaking Torah law.
You're just not. According to many opinions, you're just not. Which is pretty crazy because it's the same act. But this is a very important point of difference. Okay. Let me give you another example. Let me give you another example. The examples help. Let's say I have broken glass in my house. Broken glass in my house, and I want to get it out of the house. How do I get the broken glass? In my house? Out of the house? It's not a trick question. How do you get broken glass in your house, out of your house? Pick it up, take it out! Advice for life, that. Any Melacha problems potentially over there? Any Melacha problems potentially over there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Not borer. Borer, we separate things that are mixed together. Here, I don't want any of it together. So there's no borer here whatsoever. The act of transferring from in my house to outside the house is hotza'a. Hotza'a, right? One of the last malachot is you cannot transfer items from a private domain to a public domain, assuming that your outside has no eruv and it's a reshut harabim, okay, a public domain that many people walk through. I cannot carry an item inside the house, outside the house. What is the example of broken glass? It's like this. My intention is not to carry, listen very carefully, the item from inside my house to outside my house. I don't care about that. I just want it out. So the Melacha itself, which is hotza'a, doesn't really interest me. Because the original hotza'a was, I need something in this domain, and I need it in that domain. I need it from in to out, or out to in. What I'm saying over here is my intention is different. I just don't care about the transfer. I just don't want it here. I just don't want it in the house. I want it outside. That's transferring. I don't care about the transfer. I just don't want it in my house. So here we have a Melacha, Sheina Tzricha legufa. I don't need the act itself. I just want it out. It's a fine point, but it makes a difference. Because originally the intention was, I need it in, and I need it now to be outside. I don't care if it's outside. There's no benefit to me by being outside. I just don't want it inside. So the goof of the act of transferring itself, is not my intention. I just don't want something here. I'm not positively benefiting from the actual move itself. Marjorie.
But wouldn't that be dangerous because you could cut yourself?
Leaving aside cutting myself and all the rest of it, I'm perfectly safe over there. I just don't want kids playing with it inside the house.
Is it still allowed? So is it allowed?
Halacha l'maisa, are you allowed to do it? So from one domain to another, probably not.
But isn't it a sakana?
So what's the point? I get it.
So the sakana will be, do it in a way that is, some other way. The point is, I don't want it here, I want it there. Leaving the sakana side aside.
Didn't you just get rid and throw it into the garbage and leave the garbage in your house?
You could. But let's say I didn't want to. Let's say I wanted it outside the house.
That's the problem. Let's just say you have a table, a broken table,
Yeah.
and you don't want it anymore because it's broken. Can
Yeah.
you take it out of the house and throw it out? It's the same thing with the glass.
Same thing as the glass, yeah.
Can you?
The answer is no. But it's a Melacha Institute of Lagufa.
Because you don't want it anymore? That's the thing?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want it in. I don't care if it's out. I just don't want it in.
But outside, meaning taking something out. That's like the meaning in English.
Yeah, but that's what you did.
You see, the true purpose of
So you
Hotzah,
broke Shabbat.
the true purpose
Yeah,
you
but
are,
it's
you
not-
did, but it's a Melacha Institute of Lagufa.
different.
No, because outside it's one of the melachot.
Yes, but the Hotzah over here, I told you this was tough. I did warn you. Don't worry, it's going to get easy, I promise you. The Hotzah over here, I'm focusing on, I don't want what's my machshava? I don't want people to hurt themselves. Let's change it around. The glass is outside, I want to bring it inside. Because it's now in a public domain. Okay? So I don't want people to cut themselves on it, I want to put inside my garbage in my house. Maybe that's better. Okay, let's go with that. So now, the transfer itself is not the true purpose of Hotzah, because when I'm doing Hotzah, I want it somewhere. Here I just don't want it outside, so I bring it inside. So I'm not actually transgressing the original reason of Hotzah. The original reason of Hotzah was, I need to go from one domain to another domain. Here I just don't want it outside, I put it inside.
You can say about anything.
No, you can't.
Why?
Because let's say I want to carry a bottle of water with me from inside to outside, and there's no eruv, and it's just a yachid, rishut rabim, private domain, public domain. I want to take it with me. I need it on the outside. That's real hotza'ah.
Why? You're saying I don't want it inside, I want it outside. with
Yeah,
me.
but because I need it outside. As in, it's with me outside, I'm going to make use of it out there. Okay, let me give you permissible. Maybe this will make it a bit clearer. Stick with me. We're going to do this again, don't worry. By the way, we're going to repeat all these when we go through the melachot in general. Specifically, rather. Okay, let's do this. This is good. This is good. This will clear it up beautifully. This is it. This is the one. You ready? Now you're going to own this. Okay, let me give you an example of where I'm actually going to use a Melechet Lugufa for a positive purpose. Are you allowed to kill an animal on Shabbat? No. You sure? Yes. What's the Melacha?
Hunting.
No. Hunting is trapping the animal. I'm talking about
Tzricha.
killing the animal. Shchita. Shochet. Shochet means I cannot kill an animal on Shabbat. Okay, now listen carefully. Why did they kill animals in the Mishkan? Listen very carefully. Why did they kill animals in the Mishkan? Yes.
For the skins.
For the skins or for the meat, right? For the korbanot, right? Or for the skins they would use to cover over various items in the Mishkan. I'm in my house, and there's like a dangerous insect in there. It's not going to kill me, right? If it kills someone, then for sure. But it's like, it's going to harm or bring illness. It's a bee, and there's an elderly person that gets a very bad reaction, or there's a baby there that could get a very bad reaction to a bee sting. Okay. Am I allowed to kill the bee?
Yeah.
Yes. Why am I allowed to kill the bee? You just said you can't kill animals or insects on Shabbos. Suddenly you say you can. Listen carefully. This example is going to clear this whole thing up for you beautifully.
Because you don't want to eat it and you don't want the skin.
I don't want the bee. What was the original Melechet Machshevet of Shochet in the Mishkan? I kill it because I want it. I want to use the skin, the fur, the hair, the meat, whatever it was. If I can find a situation of killing something because I don't want it, then it becomes a Melacha. Sheina Tzricha legufa. I don't need the goof of the body of the act itself. In this case, literally, the body. So in that scenario, by killing an insect, I want it dead. I hear. It's the same act. I hear. But my intention is because I don't want it. The original way it was done was because you did want the dead animal. What I end up with is a scenario where I am permitted to kill this animal, which can cause great harm. Now, just killing a spider, right, because I don't like spiders, is not okay. Right? Just killing an ant because I just don't like ants, that you can't do. But over here, where there could be great harm that comes from the scorpion, the snake, the bee, right? The animal that can cause harm, the rabbis say you can do it. But what are you talking about? The Torah says you can't kill insects or animals on Shabbos. It's a Melacha she'en tzricha legufa. The intention has changed. My intention is not to kill the animal to keep. By the way, if you're going to kill bees because you have a bee collection of dead bee collection, that would be forbidden. But my intention is I don't want it. It's now removed itself from Melechet Machshevet, which means the way it was done with the same intention in the Mishkan, it's now permitted. Does that help at all in any way of how we're going to use a Melacha shel legufa to allow us to perform Melacha in a situation where there's a little bit of necessity? Did that help at all? Please tell me it did. Yes.
Okay, so the only difference between the Hotza'a part and this is that there's a harm factor because they're both in Melacha Sheina Tzricha Legufa, but one's permitted and one's not.
Yes. You got it. By Jove, she got it.
Is which factor? Is what?
She said the Hotza'a one we couldn't do. By this one we can do it. Both Melacha Sheina Legufa. I'll say that again in English. The transferring stuff, the Hotza'a, transfer, we said you can't do that. Okay? You can't do that. We said, but over here, we said, actually, if it's going to cause a lot of harm, actually, maybe you could. I take that back. If it moves into the harm category, then maybe you will be able to transfer from domain to domain. I take it back. In the case of broken glass, it could well be permitted if you're outside and people get hurt by it. And the reason it's Melacha she'en tzricha legufa. Okay? The insect thing. You can't kill an insect on Shabbos. You're not allowed to kill insects on Shabbos. Why? Shochet. But you know what? Let's say I want to kill the insect, not because I want it, because I don't want it. There'll be a Melacha she'en tzricha legufa, that'll be permitted. If it's a harmful insect. That's an important difference.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. Only if it's a harmful insect?
Only if it's a harmful insect. We're going to go through shochet and look at the exact... I'm just giving you the concept behind it. Yes, it has to be harmful. Yes, Shana Ramon.
What if it causes like extreme anxiety? Like it's not.
Very good question. We consider psychological pain to be on par with physical pain, and that could well permit it as well. Yes. Yes, we're going to come to that as well. Yes. Possibly trapping it could be better than killing it, okay, as we're going to come to. But yes, when we get to those Melacha, it'll become much clearer to you. That'll be okay. Yeah.
It's kind of a nitpicky question, but I'm just curious. What if you killed like a real big animal, not an insect?
Same thing. Same thing. There's a rabid dog. There's an attacking bear. Well, these are cases where they're actually life-threatening, so it's not even a question. But if they're harmful, like a biting dog that you know could bite you, and you know that by killing it, right, in that situation, or trapping it maybe, which is also a problem. It is trapping because killing dogs upsets people. Trapping the animal. I am going to, and the answer is yeah. You do it. Why? Because I'm trapping because I don't want it. The original way of doing it in the Melechet Machshevet world was I trapped it because I did want it.
So you never.
Are you allowed to cut your hair on Shabbos? Let's do another one. Because I want to get this clear. You've got to get these clear. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. Why can you not cut your hair on Shabbos? Look inside your list of 39. Get used to it. Have a look. Don't guess. Look inside. Look at the list. So one opinion says gozes. Gozes is shearing. Okay? So different opinion something elsewhere, but let's go with gozes for a second. What was the original Melechet Machshevet of shearing? Gozes. You shear the sheep because you want the wool. You want the wool. That's why you did it. What's the difference between shearing a sheep and cutting your hair?
You don't want your hair.
You don't want your hair. In my case, I didn't want it at all. But in your cases, you don't want the hair. So you know what? You could turn around and say, it's a Melacha she'en tzricha legufa. I don't want the final outcome of the outcome of the Melacha was, I now have cut wool in my hands. That was the Melechet Machshevet that was done in the Mishkan. But now I have cut hair. I don't want this. So the Melacha is different. It's a Melacha she'en tzricha legufa. I don't need the gufa of the Melacha itself. It's still forbidden. But let's find a scenario where it will be permitted. Now with hair that's different because you never need to have a haircut on Shabbos. But let's go with nails. Let's go with nails. Okay? Can you cut your nails on Shabbos? No. Let's go with the gozes. Some different opinions, but let's go with gozes, right? Shearing. Okay? From a living animal, taking a piece off of it, cutting the hair off, or the nails is a problem. Is there a scenario Well, when I cut my nails, it's a Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. I cut my nails, but I don't want the nails. Assume I don't collect nails for a living, right? I don't want them. I want to dispose of them. With me? Can you think of a scenario where I would want my nails cut on Shabbos itself? Where halachically, I need my nails cut on Shabbos. Very good. You want to say the same thing?
Yeah.
A woman wants to immerse in the mikvah on Friday night. We're going to see that's permitted, and we're going to learn through some of the halachic pitfalls or challenges that may come with doing it, but absolutely permitted. Now, the halacha is, with many opinions, that if the nails are long, that rise above the flesh, they need to be cut down. Okay, need to be trimmed down. Check this out. Can you cut, follow carefully, it's very simple, but it's beautiful. Can you cut items from a living animal on Shabbos? A human? No, you can't cut your hair, can't cut your nails. Why am I cutting my nails? I don't want to cut my nails. So I've now got the Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. It's now time to immerse in the mikveh. Oh no, I forgot to cut my nails Erev Shabbos. You know what? Find a non-Jew to cut your nails for you. Because you don't have a Jew do it, because it's still close to the Melechet Machshevet. But it's a Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. I'm going to add in, get a goy, a non-Jew to do the Melacha for me. Usually we're going to see, you cannot have a non-Jew just do Melachot for you, but over here we're going to allow it, because it's a Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa, and then it's permitted. So what we did was, we found a scenario that wasn't Melechet Machshevet, that actually my intention is different because it's a Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa, because I don't want the nails in that situation. I'm going to add one other extra layer of protection. I'll get a non-Jew to do it for me, right? I find a manicurist or there'll be some, and you're okay. The only reason I was allowed to have a non-Jew do it for me was because it's a Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. I'm going to perform this mitzvah, and therefore it's permitted. Did you follow the mathematical equation that we went through in order to get to that point? Yes, Marjorie. It gets easier, I promise you. Please stick with these first 4 or 5 lessons, and I promise you'll get much joy. Marjorie!
When in Shabbat philosophy class, you're saying like, oh, if you forget to cook the children before Shabbat, too bad you're not going to have children in Shabbat. Why do I
That's
apply
true.
this here? Well, you didn't cut your nails. You have
Because,
week.
very,
Too
very
bad
good
you're
question.
not gonna-
Marjorie's asking a very, very good question. She's like, 1 second, Rabbi. 1 second. How far does this whole thing go? Oh dear, I forgot to make children Shabbat. I'll have a non-Jew cook the children for me. You can't do that. Why not? Okay, sort of mitzvah the children. But in the laws of Shabbos, what's different between this and the nail case? Cooking food is a Melacha Tzricha. It's an actual Melacha there. You see, with a nail case, we managed to throw this in. Melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. In the nail case, because you don't need the nails. You don't need the nails. So what we did was, we managed to permit the nail case because we have this. But when it comes to cooking, that's a Melechet Machshevet. Taking food, we're going to see, taking raw items, put them into a pot, adding a fire, and cooking them up. That you cannot do.
Fine, but you're not in you're not in danger. You're not.
I'm not talking danger. I'm not talking danger. It's after, who said danger? Danger could be a scenario in many cases that permits me to do a melacha. But you know what? When it comes to that, if you're starving, hungry, about to die, then for sure. But we're not talking about that. You've got to make the cholent. Bad luck, you go hungry.
Back to the nail case. Why
She has a very, very good. We're leaning to over there because it's a melacha She'ensrich Lagufa. It's a melacha that I don't need the gufa because the nails we say you don't need them as opposed to the original hair and nails of the animals that you did need. She wants to perform a mitzvah. We're going to add a non-Jew in the scenario as well because they don't have to keep Shabbat anyway. Usually you cannot use a non-Jew to do a direct Melechet Machshevet. But once you throw this in and it's a mitzvah situation, it's suddenly permitted.
So I also don't need the broken table inside my house, so I can get a manager to do it. Get rid of it. I don't see how that's different. I don't see why I can do it in here but not there.
Okay, leave the broken table, and that wasn't my example. The broken table, just leave aside. Broken glass, it's dangerous. You want to move on to the other, that's okay.
Right, but that's harmful. But
That's okay.
With something else.
A mundane act that has no mitzvah attached to it, then probably you can't do it? No. No. You need the food. When they do the act, when they're cooking the food, they're cooking it because I want it. And therefore you cannot have a non-Jew do it. But in the case of the nails, it's getting a little bit clearer. Give me a percentage here. Are we 30% clearer than when we first started this? Yeah? 40%? 50? 60? We're getting there? Okay, great. We're going to do a lot more examples. Yes?
So do you have to go to the mikvah to cut your nails on Shabbos? I misunderstood.
Okay, great. Great question. The question was, do you have to go to the mikvah in order to get your nails on Shabbos? No.
Yep.
If you need to go to the mikvah and your nails are long, okay, and you can't immerse with long nails, since it's not you can have a non-Jew cut your nails for you. So, if you want your nails cut, you don't go to the local mikvah to get them cut on Shabbos. It's saying that in a situation where you need to do this particular mitzvah, I go to the mikvah.
So the only situation is if you need to go to the mikvah. So
In that particular scenario. But we're going to use this for other stuff later on. You want to kill an animal, we said that's harmful. Normally you can't kill animals that are just going to... But since the Melacha is doing the goof for the rabbis, were lenient and said you could do it.
So are you not allowed to cut your nails? Or
You are allowed to cut your nails via a non-Jew, many people say, if the nails are too long and you need to immerse into a mikvah on a Friday night.
So there's only one scenario where you can cut your
For that particular situation, yes. We're going to see some more scenarios in general. If a lot of the nail is detached, then you can do it yourself with a Sheino. We're going to add that in as well. When we get there, don't worry, I don't want to run ahead. I want to focus on this one piece. Okay, basically, we're going to build a puzzle together. There are a number of pieces to it. We got one piece, we're going to add more, eventually going to get a nice picture. So the answer is, you will be made to cut your nails in certain situations for other reasons, for discomfort, for hurting you, and it's mostly detached from your nail already. We're going to say that's going to be permitted as well, but that's also true. Yes?
In that case, can you
Which
ask
case?
with the mikvah?
Yes. Yes.
Can you ask a non-Jew directly to do it for you?
I believe you can. I believe you
We just
can.
don't want you to pay for it.
What?
We just don't want you to pay for it.
Okay, maybe their salary was set up beforehand, the mikvah usually sets it up, or they do it for a favor, you know? That's fine. That's fine.
But if she knows she needs to cut her nails,
That's
and
that's
she
fine.
waits-
She's doing it for you with
Yeah, no,
kavanah.
I'm saying, and
Ah.
she waits. Let's just say
Ah.
and she waits until Shabbat. If she pays them in advance, it's bad because she knew she's gonna break Shabbat.
I'm saying. No, I'm saying some of these people may be paid, and
But if she paid them in advance,
if they're paid, if it's, listen, the whole paying thing, rabbis are paid for their work on Shabbat.
in advance.
Okay, so I'm not going to pay her now either. Machbati, I also get paid in advance when I go. I do
No, but
Shabbaton. I get paid Erev Shabbat.
But it's not allowed to cut your nails. You're like the guy is doing it for you because you don't have a choice, right? So why?
So you're saying the situation, are you deliberately lechatchila allowed to leave your nails on before the guy? You probably shouldn't is the answer.
You can cut it Friday morning.
Nachon, but let's say you forgot. That's what we're talking about. And you're honest. That's what we're talking about, yes. I told you it was tough. And the good news is, it's about to get tougher. So let's move on. Let's try to find, yeah, your question?
Yeah, can you take something out of the private zone, the public zone, and then come back to the private zone? Like,
With it?
yeah.
No.
Like,
Any transfer is forbidden. From Rishut Yachid to Rishut Rabim, from Rabim to Yachid, or Daled Amot in Rishut Rabim.
You just walk outside.
Yeah, with this item. No. Okay, we'll come to a situation where if you're out once walking with it, how to just keep going till you end up back in the original place. But that's not for now. Okay. I'll take a deep breath. We're going to move on a little bit. Okay. Let's try to find another situation, which is Melechet Machshevet, where I'm going to remove the thought or the intention from its original way that it was being done, that will actually make it another exception to the rule. So basically what we're looking for over here are exceptions to the rule. What's the rule? What's the rule? The way it was done in the Mishkan. What does it mean the way it was done? The way it was physically done, and the intention, the machshava, that it was done with as well. Okay? Good? Are you clear? Let's find another example. We've done one in Melacha, Sheina, Tzricha. The second we're going to look at is a Davar. That's number one. Number two, a davar. Oh, wait, we're going to revisit all these again later on, so don't panic too much. Sheino. Write it down, yes. We're going to visit again. Sheino Miskavein. It was done in a way that you did not have the original purpose for it being done. Which means, and this is the definition I want you to write down, any Melacha that was performed with an unintentional act. That's the best translation I can think of. It's unintentional. An unintentional act. I'm going to give you a number of examples of this. Okay. My intention was to do it one way. Unintentionally, it came out that only possibly it may occur. In that situation, you're allowed to do it. Let me give you a clear example. Here we go. We looked at the first Melacha. The first Melacha was called Choresh. Choresh, we said, was you cannot dig a groove into the soil. You cannot dig a groove into the soil. Okay? Let's say I'm having a garden party on Shabbos. There's a kiddush in my garden. And I have a table that's pretty heavy. And the earth on this particular day is soft. And my wife says, Lawrence, could you move the table to the other side of the garden? Would I be permitted to drag that table, which is heavy, on that soil, which is soft, from one end of the garden to the other? I know I could lift it, but it's too heavy for lifting. You got to drag this one. Would I be permitted to drag that heavy table over that soft soil in my garden? And I'm going to say my garden intentionally, not somebody else's garden or a public garden, which may possibly later on make a difference. You can answer the question now. I'm ready. Yes?
Your kavana isn't to make a groove in the ground. Your kavana is to move the table.
Very, very good. What's your name?
Rivka?
Rivka says, what are you talking about? My kavanah is not to dig a groove. My kavanah is to move a table. Right? Even so, I'm benefiting from the act because it's my garden, and soil is being upturned and aerated. Air is being pushed into it, and it's now better soil. How do I say? You can't do it. You're not allowed to drag a heavy table across your lawn on Shabbat. Okay? Because by doing so, you're making grooves, and that's improving your soil. Maybe someone else's soil or someone I don't even care, but I'm actually getting benefit from this act. And therefore, it is forbidden. Even though that's not the way plowing was done in the Mishkan, which was with a specific intention and a specific tool for doing it. Even so, heavy table, soft soil, forbidden, because I'm still getting the benefit coming out from it, and it's my garden, and I benefit, even though right now I don't want it, I'm still getting a benefit, I'm still getting hana'ah from this action. Let's change the scenario a little bit. Let's tweak it. It's now a relatively light table, and the soil is pretty firm. It's pretty firm soil. That's a light table. You know, my wife says, could you move that light table on that pretty firm soil? Possibly, it's going to create a groove in the ground. But it's unintentional. And it's also possible that it won't happen. And the answer is, that you can do. Since there's only a possible consequence of it occurring, it is permitted to do. It's not inevitable. When Melacha was done in the Mishkan, it was inevitable. It was definitely going to happen. If it's not inevitable, it's probably true that when I drag this light table over firm soil, it's not going to make a drag and a cut inside. Not a problem. I want to give another couple of examples so everyone's clear on this. Here's a better example. Okay? Are you allowed to kill insects on Shabbos? We already said no. It's a hot summer day. There's insects all over the ground. Okay? All over the ground. Am I allowed to walk around knowing full well that I possibly could kill a few insects when I walk around? Yeah. Why? It's a Davar, Sheina, Miskavein. It's not my intention, and it's not inevitable. That's the key thing, because intention means inevitable. It's not inevitable. Do I have to walk around like this? Watch me very carefully. No. Because each step I take, and each move I make, each step that I take as I walk through the street, may or may not hit an insect. It's not my kavanah. I'm not going to use the insects anyway. It's just Melacha to the gufa if I do kill one, right? So I'm going to throw that in just for this scenario anyway. It's not inevitable. It's an inevitable consequence. If the floor is teeming with them, and I know inevitably every step is going to kill them, you can't walk on that earth, most likely. And better find another route. If there isn't, whatever. But I can find. But if I know that, if I don't know for sure, it's not inevitable that every step I take I'm going to kill an insect. Along the way, I may kill one in here, but it's not inevitable. Each step's not inevitable because it could be there's one there and one not there. I don't have to keep looking every single step I take. It's permitted. Davar, Sheino, Miskavein. You can walk through a street that has a number of insects because each step you take, it's not inevitable that there will be an insect. Does that make any sense to any of you? If it doesn't, please tell me. Sheina.
Does the percentage matter? Like if it's a 50-50 chance, or if it's
it's got to be inevitable to your problem. It's got to be for sure when I walk, insect dead. It's got to be swarming, teeming with them. I mean, I'm talking like one of the makos in Mitzrayim, absolute teeming insects. Every step.
So it has to be 100%.
Sure, 100%, 100%. If it's like it could be I take a step, there's no insect there, which on most streets we walk around, even in the summer there's lots of insects around, it may not necessarily happen, it's okay. Davar she'eino miskavein, it's not an inevitable consequence, and therefore it's okay. But what are you talking about? You make an insect, and insects have been to kill on Shabbos, Shochet, Melechet Machshevet. Melechet Machshevet means when the act was done, it was done with intention and inevitable consequence. This is not inevitable. Even 90%, 100%, that I can't get away from. I can't, 100%, that's already moved me from here up to here. So this, what are we doing? These are exceptions to this. These are exceptions to the Melechet Machshevet. I want to give you more examples. Hold on. Hold that question right in there. Put it in your hippocampus. Walking through grass on Shabbos. I want to get this clear. By the way, if you leave this class not understanding a word I said, do not panic. Do not panic and call your mother, start crying, and demand a refund from Stern College. We're going to do them again and they will become clearer. Am I allowed to walk through the grass on Shabbos? Am I allowed to walk through the grass on Shabbos?
Yeah.
Yes. Wait a second. Don't we know that uprooting grass with my foot, uprooting grass form of kotzer, that's a Melechet Machshevet. You can't. I'm allowed to go up to a piece of grass and pull it out? No. So why am I allowed to walk through? What's the answer?
You might not.
You might not do it. When you walk through grass, when you wheel your stroller over the grass, maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's not inevitable. Inevitable. Oh, inevitable. That's Melechet Machshevet. But I'm in the world of Davar she'eino miskavein. Right? So my kavanah, there's no inevitable action. Remove the inevitable. You can do it. Find me an example where it moves from here back up to here, where definitely you can't do it. How about running through tall grass. Running through tall grass, it's definitely going to happen. It's just going to. You run through tall grass, you're going to rip out. That you can't do. You cannot run through tall grass on Shabbos. You can walk through short grass, maybe even walk through taller grass actually. But run through tall grass where it's absolutely sure it's inevitable, then you move yourself out of here, move yourself into here. So what's happened was, walking on grass, which you may have thought is, I'm going to rip up grass. For sure. It ain't for sure. Walking through grass doesn't make it for sure. So what this has done is come as an exception to this, and therefore it's permitted. And that's why you can push a stroller over the grass if you want to, and it's not a problem of chorish either. We said because you're compressing, but the grass aspect is not a problem. I want to give you more examples. Hold on. Are you allowed to brush your hair on Shabbos? But we're going to revisit all of these in their appropriate Melacha, but just to get the concept. The answer is, it depends. By the way, that's always the answer to every Jewish question. It depends. Give me a scenario where you cannot. Give me a scenario when you can, using a Davar, Sheino, Miskavein. It's unintentional and it's not inevitable. That's really what we're talking about over here. What's inevitable, Whitney?
You might break off hair pieces.
Not break off, you're going to pull the hair out. Give me the scenario where that's going to happen, for sure.
If you're losing your hair?
Yes, losing the hair may be one of them, but even so, yeah?
Like curly hair?
Curly hair using a comb,
Oh.
right? Using a comb. You know, my daughters, they do. I had daughters. I'm blessed with 4 daughters, Baruch Hashem, right? I see them pull their hair. You can't do that on Shabbos. It's inevitable that some hairs are going to come out. Using a comb or a stiff brush, it's inevitable. How about I do in a way where it's not inevitable? It's possible, but it's not inevitable. Such as using my fingers, or a soft, open brush, and a gentle brush of my hair. Am I inevitably going to pull hairs out? It's not inevitable. Is it possible? It's possible, but it's not enough to be inevitable. Once its only possible consequence, I've left my Melechet Machshevet, which says you cannot pull out hairs because of gozers or whatever. I've moved myself into a Davar Sheina Miskavein. It's also a Melacha Sheina Gufa because I don't want the hair that comes out, as opposed to the original cutting that was you want the hair itself. Throw those two together. I guess you mistarif them, you stick them together. You can gently fix your hair with your fingers, or use a gentle open brush. That's not, but the is not okay. Does that help at all? Are we getting some clarity over here? Please say yes. Please. I think her hand was up for a moment. Yes.
The one thing I don't understand is, so say you're like, okay, I'm just going to move this table. You're not paying attention, you move the table, you look down, there's trenches, and there's stuff, and you're living in a time based do you bring a hot test for that?
Oh
like,
my God.
Is it like, I mean...
If you transgressed a decree of the rabbis not to do something a certain way, and you do it by mistake, sitting next time, you would have to bring a chatas. That's what Rabbi Gabriel taught us. Yes.
For the second one, is it also, it's not inevitable?
Right. This has to be not inevitable. Once it's inevitable, that's the way things were done in the Mishkan, Melechet Machshevet. This is not inevitable. In that situation, you could do it.
So combing with your
This is less of a problem than this. This is less.
combing with your fingers.
Not a problem.
Both.
Not a problem. I'm saying, I'm thinking about it now, it's probably a bit of this as well, because I don't even want the hair. But over here, but I don't want to pull it out. But over here, I don't want to pull my hair out. I want to just fix it. Is it inevitable? Some hairs may come out. You know? It's okay. You can gently lightly fix your hair like this, and that's going to be good. Was that tough, class? Be honest with me, that was tough, right? It's going to get easier. Actually, it's going to get a little harder, and then it's going to get easier for you. We'll pick this up in Mitzvah Hashem on Tuesday. Have a Shabbat Shalom.